What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy Micah J. And today I'm back again with another addition to the series called Why I Love ... where I'll be taking a specific TV show or movie and giving my detailed reasons for my infatuation for the show or movie in several categories, which is why today I'll be explaining why I love the classic TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. One of the most groundbreaking and iconic television series ever made, created by Joss Whedon, Buffy the Vampire Slayer brought a whole new level of innovation to the traditional fantasy genre. When the series premiered on the WB on March 10th, 1997, it was unlike anything that people had ever seen before in television, as it was praised for its excellent storytelling, as well as its exploration of deeper themes such as love, loss, and the nature between good and evil. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was such a generation-defining program that ran for an impressive 7 seasons and ushered in an entirely new era of youth television. It proved that genre shows had a place in TV and could appeal to the mainstream audiences if done properly. With its captivating characters, its thought-provoking themes, and its fearless approach to the supernatural, Buffy stands as a towering achievement in the world of television, garnering a strong and loyal fan base, and has since been considered to be a cult classic. So, without further ado, let's break it down. Now, when you think of some of the most iconic chosen ones in movies and television, a few come to mind. Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender, Luke Skywalker from the Star Wars franchise, Harry Potter from the Harry Potter franchise, Neo from The Matrix, and of course the Vampire Slayer herself, Buffy Summers. One of the greatest pop culture heroines of all time, Buffy Ann Summers was a character who meant so much to a generation, as she was considered both a role model and a hero, inspiring thousands of young girls around the world who have felt like that they couldn't be strong, vulnerable, badass, or even feminine. To say that the character of Buffy went through a lot on the show would be a humongous understatement, because honestly, you can make an entire list of all the traumatic experience and all the heartache that she suffered. From dying twice to killing her boyfriend, losing her mother, like seriously, I could just keep going on and on about this. But even throughout it all, Buffy weathered through the storm, as she was always the toughest person around, and even in her worst moments, was a character unlike any other. In all honesty, I think it is absolutely criminal that she never even received a single Emmy nomination for her performance as Buffy Summers, as she made the character more than just a stereotype, as she took the audience on Buffy's journey with her, witnessing her ups and her downs along the way. Even when the show had slowly lost its way in the last 2 seasons, the one constant that remained was the ensemble work of its cast, and Sarah Michelle Gellar was definitely the best of them all. Well, almost the best. While Sarah Michelle Gellar's performance as Buffy Summers was undeniably phenomenal, but in the end, the best character from Buffy the Vampire Slayer had to be Spike. Brought to life by James Marsters, Spike was initially meant to be a one-time villain, killed off during the midpoint of Buffy the Vampire show's 2nd season, but eventually he was kept around simply because he was such an instant hit with audiences, mainly due to the character's remarkable arc throughout the show's entirety. With his bleach blonde hair and his signature trench coat, James Marsters simply stole every episode he was featured on, playing Spike, who grew more vulnerable and far deeper as the show slowly turned him into a world-saving champion, but also as an all-out villain. When he first arrives on the show's 2nd season, Spike is a character who is evil through and through, a gleeful murderer without a soul, intent on ruining and killing the lives of Buffy and her friends. But as the series went on, thanks to some remarkable storytelling, he grew closer to the gang and eventually finds himself with a soul as he falls in love with the character of Buffy. The vampire's journey was funny, tragic, violent, and enrapturing, and James Marsters made it so you loved every side of him. Witnessing Spike's character development from the 2nd season all the way to the finale was just such a sight to behold, as the audience received a taste of every side of what made the character Spike the best character of the show, from how evil he could be, from how charming he could be, to how seductive he can be, to how funny he could be, and ultimately how heroic he could be. The one thing I absolutely adored about Buffy the Vampire Slayer is that it was a show that was never afraid to incorporate serious real-life themes in its episodes, most specifically when it comes to discussing the representation of LGBTQ relationships. The LGBTQ community has come a long way for the past 2 decades, as we have been seeing more representation in the media now, but when the decision was made to pair William Rosenberg and Tara McClay as a couple, it was so rare yet so groundbreaking for the time. History was made when the 2 characters became the first ever lesbian couple staple in television, as Allison Hannigan and Amber Benson always had great chemistry in their scenes, bringing such a sweet and genuine romance to life. When Willow and Tara shared their first on-screen kiss in the 17th episode of season 5, The Body, it was possibly the only time that people had ever seen two women kiss on mainstream television, which made it all the more groundbreaking. Despite this groundbreaking moment in Buffy, it almost didn't happen. According to sources, Joss Whedon threatened to quit Buffy the Vampire Slayer if the scene wasn't aired after he was butting heads with the network at WB, as they initially forbid the lesbian kiss to happen in the episode The Body. Thankfully, the WB came to their senses and allowed the kissing scene between Willow and Tara to be aired. Willow and Tara's relationship was such a milestone in its time, as they captured the viewers' hearts by having such a healthy relationship. The pair were loving and very supportive of each other throughout the difficult times. Although it's a real shame that their relationship ended in tragedy when Tara was murdered in the 19th episode of season 6, Seeing Red, the romance between the two characters paved the way for more diverse and authentic representations of LGBTQ couples in television today. What made Buffy the Vampire Slayer such an important show to so many people who grew up watching it back then and even to this very day is the fact that Buffy was considered to be a role model, as she was a symbol of female empowerment. It wasn't the physical strength of the character that inspired so many young women. It was the fact that Buffy was a complex character who went against most stereotypes of quote-unquote damsel in distress. For Generation Z, it may be easy to dismiss Buffy the Vampire Slayer as just being a typical 90s show with its dated themes or special effects. However, with its strong emphasis on feminism and its capacity to portray women as inherently strong, Buffy is a timeless and true example of girl power. Yet, even with her power, we still watch Buffy struggle and make mistakes, making her all the more relatable and real. The show masterfully demonstrated capable women who can display strength and agency, but also portrays them as complex and in no way perfect. This is a crucial aspect of role models, as the media tends to put out idealized representation of girls and women. Most cannot live up to these quote-unquote perfect representations. To depict characters that not only fight evil, but also fight for their own internal problems and struggle with life, responsibilities, and emotion was highly important to those who were diehard lovers of the show in shaping the kind of people they can be today. Although Buffy the Vampire Slayer may have ended over 2 decades ago, the messages it provided and the female empowerment the show represented are still applicable to current times. The one strongest aspect that Buffy the Vampire Slayer had going for it was the excellent writing it had, as it produced some of the show's most memorable and greatest episodes. For example, one of my personal favorite episodes of the show, Once More with Feeling, it proved that musical episodes of non-musical shows could be a hit, as we see Buffy and her friends singing their feelings while being under the condition of a demon. The original songs were so great and launched major reveals to shape the show's 6th season, including Afterlife, where we see Buffy being pulled out of heaven when her friends resurrect her, and the finale of the 6th season, Grave, where we see the character of Willow turn into Dark Willow, being fueled with hate and rage after grieving the death of her girlfriend Tara. Other standouts include the 10th episode of season 4, Hush, which for me was possibly like the show's most creative episode, where we see how the show ditches the dialogue from a mostly silent structural experiment that sees the town of Sunnydale fall prey to the gentleman, and even the finale of season 2, Becoming Part 2, where we see Buffy take on the villainous Angelus, the soulless version of her boyfriend Angel. Some of Buffy the Vampire Slayer's most memorable shows defied convention and pushed expectations of what a TV episode could do. In a show that could have been nothing more than just a typical monster of the week leading to its final showdown, the high-quality writing, the exquisite storytelling, and its amazing cast elevated each episode and made the show all the more special. The major battles were epic and had high stakes, and the emotional moments had real impact, all centered by its realistic characters who grew and changed across the series. It showed just how good TV could be in both writing and performance, and opened the doors for so many shows after it. One of the main reasons why Buffy the Vampire Slayer has maintained its popularity for nearly 3 decades was the fact that it was a show that really knew how to cater to its audience and using the monsters and the demons as parallels of what we deal with in real life. Buffy was so relatable because of the fact that she had her own personal demons to battle with, and the viewers could see themselves in her struggles. The demons and monsters of the show served as metaphors for the challenges and anxiety of teen life, exploring themes of sexuality, relationships, and personal struggles, often reflecting societal issues in a fantastical way. way. For example, the 16th episode of season 5, The Body, is not only considered to be one of the show's best episodes, but also in television history, where we see Buffy and her friends dealing with the aftermath of the death of her mother, Joyce, taking a raw look at the death of a loved one and how death is its own monster. For a show that is part science fiction, part horror, it's also undeniably human, which is one of its strongest points. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a show that showed you that it's okay to have your struggles and to be open about what you go through, because it made clear that you're not alone. You can always rely on those who will be there for you. Nothing ever feels so fantastical that it can't be relatable, making legions of fans connect with the characters and what they're going through, and this relevance still holds true to this day. When it comes to discussing an ending to a beloved series, it can be very tricky. While some brilliant classics have superbly succeeded when it comes to ending the show on an all-time high, such as 6 Feet Under, Avatar: The Last Airbender, MASH, or even Breaking Bad, but yet there have been so many TV shows that have endings that are so bad it pretty much kills the series' legacy, such as Dexter, Pretty Little Liars, How I Met Your Mother, and most famously of all, Game of Thrones. When Buffy the Vampire Slayer aired its final episode on May 20th, 2003, fans' expectations were astronomical, because this is where it had all been culminating to after 6 years and 7 seasons. Over 2 decades later, Chosen is still lauded as one of the greatest TV finales of all time, as there are so many things of what made the ending of Buffy the Vampire Slayer still worth talking to this very day. Even though there are some Buffy fans that will argue that Chosen wasn't exactly the perfect finale, which in some cases I can understand why some people would feel that way. It does feature a villain that is quite cool but mostly forgettable, and the way they killed off Anya Jenkins was also pretty lame. It really sucks that the writers of the show gave her that type of blink and you'll miss it type death, because Anya was one of the show's most beloved characters, as we got to see her grow from being a one-time villain as a vengeance demon in season 3 to eventually becoming a character that you grow to love, solidifying herself as one of the series' most defining heroes. The series did such an incredible job with Anya's character development, but only for her to be killed off like she was nothing. It's like, damn, like, Anya, she deserves so much better than that. That being said, despite those few tiny flaws, the season 7 finale Chosen did a lot of damage control to make sure the show ended as strong as it started, featuring notably 2 incredible moments in the show's history that more than makes up for it. We see Buffy and her friends gathering all the potential Slayers once more at Sunnydale High, devising a plan to not only stop the first, but also to seal the Hellmouth once and for all. While Willow is casting a spell that changes the Slayer line forever, we see Buffy giving a rousing speech to all the potential Slayers of what it truly means to be chosen by asking them all, "Are you ready to be strong?" It was such a triumphant moment for Buffy, and the most definitive instance of female empowerment on a show that's all about giving power to women. It was also a callback to the show's roots, a reminder that vanquishing your demons requires commitment, courage, strength, and, above all else, teamwork. And then by the end of the episode, we see Spike getting the perfect send-off as he proves his worth as a true hero by sacrificing himself for the greater good. Buffy was a show that was always great when it came to handling character development, but when it came to Spike, nobody on the show had perhaps the most transformative arc like he did, as we saw him from being a bloodthirsty vampire who's hell-bent on destroying the lives of Buffy and her friends in season 2 to eventually becoming Buffy's soulful lover. Even though Spike and Buffy's relationship hasn't always been perfect, but by the end of the show, we see Spike make a decision to have his soul return to be closer to humanity, which was such an important part of his journey. This act of heroism and selflessness by Spike leads Buffy to hold his hand and tells him the words that he's been so desperate to hear all along, as she says, "I love you." But then he replies by saying, no, you don't. But thanks for saying it. Spike's final sacrifice is the climax to his incredible redemption arc, as he laughs in the face of death, making it clear that he isn't afraid to die. And that's what makes this moment so satisfying to watch, as the character of Spike went out with an absolute chef's kiss as he dies a hero. The final episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer gives you everything of what you could want from a series finale. A huge battle, notable sacrifices, bad guys being demolished, and our beloved heroes reigning supreme. In conclusion, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a show that will forever be a timeless classic. Its enduring popularity can be attributed to its unique blend of genres, well-crafted characters, and its ability to address important social issues to its audience. Buffy had proven that it was a show that can be both entertaining and thought-provoking, as it continues to inspire and resonate with viewers today, leaving a permanent mark on pop culture, feminism, and the television landscape.